Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems, Amazon TV, and YouTube. Join B. Alan Bourgeois for today's show. Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Indie Beacon Show. This is your host, B. Alan Bourgeois, and today we're going to be talking slightly different. We're not talking to an author per se, but we're going to be talking about authors and their royalties and stuff. And I have with me Sharon Woodhouse. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Well, glad to be here.
What you're wanting to do on your project is really interesting. We have talked via text messages and stuff. And I have to be clear for everybody. I'm right with Sharon on this concept and ideas, but I still have to play the devil's advocate here. So hopefully we'll draw some more information and ideas out. So Sharon, let's start with the concept that you want to accomplish. Let's start off with what made you decide to do this and what it is actually you're trying to accomplish.
Sure. So I have been an indie book publisher for 26 years. I've done almost everything in this aspect of the publishing world: author, consultant, coach, print broker, project manager, hybrid publishing. And what I'm trying to do here, I'm calling the project Bookrolls, is to figure out how the book industry can pay royalties to authors for two things. For books sold through used bookstores, essentially. So every time a book is resold through a traditional channel. That's one. And then also to bring the US into alignment with many, many other countries on earth, which have what are called public lending rights. That is giving authors some sort of payment for how often their books are taken out of the library system. And mostly what I want to do is just start the conversation. I think book publishing is always a little bit behind other industries technologically. But not only that, let's bring ourselves into alignment not only with the future, the present, but other creative industries that for decades have figured out how to pay royalties to the artists. So if a playwright writes a play, they continue to get royalties, even if it's done at a high school, even if it's a dress rehearsal. We know the myriad ways that musicians earn royalties on their works through streaming services, when it's, pieces of their music are used for commercials. All of these structures are in place for other creative industries. I think it's time for the book world to expand, to take advantage of the technological options and expand. So I'm trying to kick off a conversation, basically.
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of issues involved in that. Yeah. And let's start with the royalty aspect, because when an author, whether it's traditional, hybrid, or indie, sells a book, they've lost the right to that book. And I mean a paperback edition. Right. Unlike an ebook, or even in some cases an audiobook, once that's sold, it cannot be resold like a paperback can.
Right.
So if I'm correct, there have been a couple of trial cases about copyrights and resales, and authors have lost in that. So what do you see as a way to fix that?
Well, I think that just about every bookstore and Amazon has the capacity to keep track of what they're selling. And I think what happens now is it is so easy to buy a used copy of a book, whether that's at a bookstore or on Amazon, the minute a book is new. And those are lost sales for an author. And yet we live in an era that is more environmentally aware. People might have pocketbook constraints and they can only afford the cheaper version. I just think we should figure out how to tweak our technology. How do we tweak our sales systems to keep track of these sales and give an author a share of that? Now, this will involve changing contracts in the publishing industry, changing mindsets about it. But I think we need to start the conversation. There's no time to address the future like now.
You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you on that. And with the amount of indie published authors that there are out there, which is close to 1 million in the United States,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all easily 1 million, 2 million books that are out there, most likely being resold in some format. I mean, Amazon started off as a book reseller and grew to what it is today, half price books, and a large marketing resells the books, but neither of them give back to the authors in any form that allows them to see some type of resale
Right.
or
Yeah.
permit. I
And
mean, even
there's,
their lending library is set up to really not pay too much, if anything at all.
yeah.
So, I mean, this is a tough subject, but starting with the indie authors, they're the ones that are going to have to kind of speak up and start demanding a change in this. Is that how you're seeing it?
Wow. I think we all have to poke at it. I think the most resistant might be the booksellers because there might be some sort of technology upgrades or pricing questions about whether or not who's going to pay for those price differences. And I'm not even sure that that really matters. I think consumers knowing what's going on will be happy to pay the extra 50 cents a book might cost used to cover author royalties. And I think in that situation, that money is not just going to the authors, it's going to the authors and the publishers. The publishers are also getting hurt in this scenario. They invest in a book, and if they're not selling 10, 12,000 copies anymore, let's say, and they're selling 4,000 copies because it's constantly being resold, they'll be making different choices about what to publish. And so this is about boosting the industry. And I think I already forgot the question. I get a little off. How's it going to happen? I mean, one thing is I feel like I have nothing to lose. And I also like to be the person that's pushing. So I feel like my feelings aren't going to get hurt. Maybe I should stop just having the idea and put it out there. So my thought is to just push at everyone, the authors groups, the publishers groups, individual authors, individual publishers. Say, let's talk about this. There's the book industry study group, and the technology exists. I mean, we know that Amazon can pay micro payments for how many pages of an ebook is read. We just need to somehow sync up the systems, sync up whatever software bookstores use, and also, then coordinate with the libraries, because this public lending rights idea, it goes back to the 1900s. It's been in Scandinavia since the 1940s. Even in modern times, it's in Ireland, the Netherlands, Israel, Australia, Belgium, Germany. It's Canada, all over the UK. It's time the United States look at that as well.
And we're going to take this opportunity to pause, let our sponsors do their thing, because there's so much more to discuss about this. We'll be right back.
Okay, thanks.
Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-owned company where authors can learn how to better market and sell their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? Well, during COVID, almost all of us have been doing just that. I'm Charlotte Canyon, award-winning author, actress, and speaker. And my book, You Have to Laugh to Keep From Crying, shows you how you can revive, thrive, and survive with 4 golden rules. You have to love one another. You have to respect one another. You have to have patience with one another. And most of all, you've got to forgive one another. I'm Charlotte Canyon, and I approve this message.
Publishing marketing package for authors. $1,500 value, save 40% now. Includes a 6-piece marketing kit of 250 bookmarks, 250 business cards, 250 postcards, 1 table banner, 1 table runner, and 50 download cards, plus book cover design, ebook creation, PDF setups, upload to Ingram Spark, scroll placement, video commercial, and interview on IBS. Plus much more. Email bourgeoismedia@look.com for details or bourgeoismedia.com.
To embrace your children's imagination, check out Diane Floyd Bame's books for kids. There's The Moonling Adventures, all about the animals in the Serengeti, And then there's Harry the Camel, learning to love yourself just the way you are. Then The Little Girl in the Moon. There's one about friendship, another one about the big ideas, which is an inspirational story. And then Tour Tycho Town, right there in Tycho Crater on the moon. All of Diane Floyd Bain's books are available at B4R Store.
Do you send book sales to a company that takes most of your money? Do you want a bookstore that supports you? Want to earn more money from your book sales? Introducing a bookstore for indie authors and small press only. Earn up to 80% of your book sales and learn how to better market yourself. Join the 150 authors already signed up to earn their fair share at b4r.store. Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems, Amazon TV, and YouTube. Join the Alan Bourgeois for today's show. And welcome back. This is your host, B. Alan Bourgeois, and you are watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show. And today we have Sharon Woodhouse, who's presenting an idea called Bookrolls, which is really a way to help authors get their lost royalties. In the previous discussion, and there's so many different levels of discussion about this. We have the publishers who are losing out on book resales. We have the indie authors who are losing out on book resales. The bookstores, especially like Amazon and the other large ones that use resold books, not really wanting to give up their profit is one of the aspects. So have you started to lay out concepts or ideas and ways to approach these people?
I have lots of ideas, but I've just started. I mean, you found me, I just made the website live 2 weeks ago, I think. So I'm just starting to put the social media sites into place and connect with people. Ideally, I would like to form a small advisory board. And maybe even before that, I have a place on the website for people to sign on. Anyone in the book industry, whether it's an organization, a publisher, an author, a reader, is just to sign on to the idea and say, yes, let's talk about this. So that's the first step I see. I think most of this is a matter of will and interest. I think the technology exists, the reason exists. And we don't want to put the readers, the consumers and the buyers of books in a tough spot, because they're looking at competing values, limited money. Everyone has limited money to spend for the most part. There's the environmental choice of, do I buy a new book or do I buy a used book? A lot of people are buying more secondhand items as a conscious environmental choice. And I think that's fine. Buy the used book and half price, the author should still get a portion of it. And I think those arguments are getting easier to make. It's just a matter of, getting on the radar and the agenda of the people who make the decisions. Enough people, enough groundswell. I do not know how to make it happen, but I have nothing else to, I do. Right now I'm only spending 10, 15 minutes a day on this. But that's a commitment, and I just hope to keep at it and find the people and build upwards.
Well, from our perspective, as of the day of this recording, we launched our annual survey, which is now the 5th year that we've done an author survey, to see how book sales have been going over the last year, what they plan for the new year, the audio, ebooks, paperback, all that stuff. So we will be glad to share some of that information with you and your group.
Oh, great.
So they have better understanding, especially indie authors, of how they're looking at things, how they're budgeting, how much money they're losing in this aspect and stuff. The other aspect I'd love to throw out there, because as I mentioned to you before, I've thought of this idea as well. And one thing I've thought of approaching was more as a retirement fund / support fund, where Amazon and the Half Price Books and others who sell resold books could actually put in 10 cents per book that they do towards this fund. So when we're in situations like this, pandemic and stuff, we have funds that we can help the authors survive on and work with and stuff. or a retirement fund to help go towards that long-term care, like the movie and actors guilds do, and musician guilds do, and all the other guilds do, but authors don't.
Well, it's interesting. It's another way that other creative industries have solved a problem and publishing hasn't. And
Right.
that's not even a technological problem, really. That's just, again, interest, will, commitment.
So I'm curious about that, because that's an interesting aspect. As far as indie authors are concerned, yes, they've been around for hundreds of years, but in a low term concept. And now, because of the way POD is, and self-publishing is, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's become an industry where musicians and actors have been around for hundreds of years, and guilds that have been around for at least 100 years and stuff. Do you think that's part of the thing, is that we're lagging behind in that social awareness, and that's why we're not at that point?
That's interesting. So bringing the indie authors more into, and the self-published authors or the hybrid authors into the authors guilds, the bigger professional organizations. Yeah, that could be. And that would be a really good place to check to see what, if any of this is on the authors guilds radar right now.
Yeah, because I mean, it is still somewhat a new aspect and stuff. So I'm wondering if that may be part of the reason why. And I know also because bookstores in general have had that native concept that, well, you're indie author, therefore the book's not good, which has definitely changed and proven wrong over the years and stuff, which I'm really thankful for.
Right. Well, there's also the concern that without the big superstores anymore, for instance, Borders especially, small independent stores do not have the shelf space to provide what indie authors need. So we do need other avenues for sales. I mean, that's just a math problem.
Yeah, and getting the ability to be out there and stuff. And I know Amazon definitely has the shelf space.
Yeah.
And most anyone who has an online presence can definitely do it. Excuse me. With the aspect of a board, what is it you're hoping a board can do to help motivate and move this forward?
Well, one is just develop the ideas and the concepts and some alternative options. So a bit of fleshing out the ideas that I already have, testing them with different aspects of the industry, and then pushing, having a body, more than one person, me, to knock on the door of the American Publishers Association, the Independent Book Publishers Group, Book Industry Study Group, and just start saying, hey, we'd like an audience. We want a discussion. How come it's like this? Or what are your ideas for addressing these issues of Amazon reselling books? I know they've reconfigured the Amazon page supposedly to make it less obvious, but I don't really think that's true. I think it's as obvious as ever how to buy a used version on Amazon. Everyone knows. Sometimes I think it's just that people are too busy to think big enough. And I think it's important to keep coming back to that. It's a big idea, but that doesn't mean we should avoid it.
A project like this is definitely going to take some funding. So have you considered opening up a membership opportunity at different levels, for authors versus publishers and stuff?
I have not thought about how that would work. And I did not. I think, right now the costs are hosting the website. And that is a bit of an expense, but it's one I can absorb. Do you have ideas about that?
Well, definitely, because as you go out there and learn more information, surveys, for example, are going to be critical and funny in getting that word out there. Your time is going to be valuable as you grow this and develop it and stuff. So I would encourage some type of membership aspect. And that could be something that could be turned into a foundation that, again, those bookstores that say, hey, we're going to contribute to that foundation for that purpose of supporting authors and stuff like that. And as a bookstore operator, I would go for that as a way to get the ball started and to help
Yeah,
look that and stuff.
that's a good idea.
Publisher, I would say, yes, we need to do that as well. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we will be right back.
Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-owned company where authors can learn how to better market and sell their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com.
Lone Star Festival, where Texas authors, artists, and creatives come together for a Texas-sized event. Join us on May 29, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Seguin Coliseum, Seguin, Texas. Free for everyone. Produced by Texas Authors Institute of History. Sponsored by B4R.store, Authors Marketing Guild, and the City of Seguin. More information at lonestar.bookfestival.network.
Hi, I'm Rox Berkey. I write the Enigma series with my co-author. We write as Brakefield and Berkey. Today we have 12 books in this series, with The Enigma Threat being the newest release on January the 8th of 2021. It's an exciting book that goes to the next generation, and we hope that you'll check it out and all the other books in the Enigma series. Thank you.
Lone Star Festival, a Texas-sized event. Meet authors, artists, and Texas musicians in the City of Seguin on May 29, 2021. Sponsored by Real Seguin, Coffee Shop, Authors Marketing Guild, B4R.store, and Dear Texas. Produced by Texas Authors Institute of History. Join us and get your free tickets online at lonestar.book.
Hello, I am the author Denise Bryson. My first book is The Things That Cross My Mind, Inspirational Poetry with Life Lessons. And then my audio book is Love's Reality, and it is also inspirational poetry with a jazzy flair. And then my new book is The Sex, the Lies, and the Soul Ties. They're really short stories written from a poetic expression. And then I have my first children book series, the Blinky series, which the first book is called Meet the Coins, and it is both in English and Spanish. And then the new book, From Coins to Bills. I am the author, Denise Bryson.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems, Amazon TV, and YouTube. Join B. Alan Bourgeois for today's show.
And welcome back. This is your host, B. Alan Bourgeois. You are either watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, and we greatly appreciate that. We have with us Sharon Woodhouse, who's started a program as an initial project called Bookrolls. Sharon, let's go to the main fact. How can people find you? What's your website and stuff like that?
Okay. The website, which is now 2 weeks old, is bookrolls.com. It's also on Facebook, facebook.com/bookrolls. And on Twitter, it's a little bit different. It's at bookrolls1. So bookrolls and the number 1. And I think there, every day I'm posting, at least on Twitter, just starting to get the ball rolling. And I'm looking for people to also sign on. So on the website, there's a place where you can email me. You can sign on as an author group, a publisher, a publisher's group, a reader, a bookstore, anyone in the book industry that supports this idea and discussing it and hopefully implementing some versions of it. And if you put your name on, I will link to your sites or your books, however you want to do that. But that's where I'm starting. And I would like to do more events like this where new ideas come up, where the ideas get not just disseminated, but further fleshed out. You know, we think of the pitfalls or the promises, and we just keep moving it along collectively.
Okay. Well, as an author advocate and an author, I will be more than glad to be on there.
Excellent. Excellent.
And for our group, the Indie Beacon Show and or the Authors Marketing International Group, I think we can add some support to that as well.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
A cause that needs to happen. Royalties are a critical aspect for authors. That's how they're making money when they have those free lending bookstores or libraries and
Yeah.
book resales. They are losing out on the income, and that is critical for them to be able to continue on and stuff. So I appreciate you doing this and having the time and effort to do it and stuff.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for having me on and for seeing the possibilities there right at the beginning.
Yeah, it definitely is something that's well worth it and stuff. So I would encourage people to check out her website. Again, it's bookrolls.com. You find her on social media and Facebook, of course, and all those other items. And we'll put out information as well, and we'll keep track of how the project's going and share it with our members. So hopefully we'll have you back in a year and you'll be able to update everybody and let us know what's
Give
happening.
you a good update.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Sharon, for being with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for watching the Indie Beacon Show. It is produced by B.L. Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild, copyright 2021. Voiceover by Randon James and B.L. Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of this show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for this show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music by Always Rejoice by Ramcord